So, hola, me llamo Maraya Karena y este es el show de Maraya Karena. Hola, 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 damas y caballeros, bienvenidos al show de Maraya Karena. Bienvenidos al show de Maraya Karena Internacional. Estamos aquí en México and we are going to talk about what we're all thinking about right now, what you've been thinking about all day. That's right, sugar. What's on the tip of everybody's tongue? Oh, it's taking over everybody's body. Oh, how can we escape thinking about sugar? So now recently I have not been attracted to the alcohol vibration. I've not seen people be drunk and thought, damn, I really want me some of that. In fact, it's been kind of the opposite. In fact, I walk into a bar or I see a group of people and they're hanging out in a room and they're drinking beers, and some part of me thinks this isn't where I want to be. Some part of me thinks this isn't where innovative growth happens. But here I am, and I'm in Mexico, and I'm at a wedding, and I'm feeling emotional, and it's exciting, and someone, passes me a mojito, and I think, oh my god, I love mojitos. Mojitos are so good, and yum, and I start drinking it, and it's so good, and then someone passes me a strawberry margarita, and I'm like, oh my god, this strawberry margarita is so good, and so I'm drinking the strawberry margarita, and someone comes over, and they have a regular margarita, and I'm drinking a regular margarita. I probably haven't drank anything for, 6 months? And here I am having 3 or 4 drinks and I don't get drunk, which in itself is kind of weird. Someone else who said they felt like they couldn't get stoned anymore. Go on now, or people who start taking acid and at a certain point the acid doesn't work for them anymore. They don't get high. Maybe when things aren't the medicine for you, it doesn't matter. If you took ibuprofen right now, your body wouldn't react in a way that would be perceivable to your consciousness. But anyway, whatever. The point is, I'm not getting drunk. But even come day 2, I'm still suckling down these drinks. And it took until waking up the morning of day 3 to realize that I didn't want to be doing that anymore, and that the thing that was making me feel like shit, and the thing that was making me want to drink it, was not the alcohol. It was the sugar. Just like sugar! And dude, sugar is crazy addictive. I think sugar might be one of the most addictive substances on this planet right now. And it's just that we're not allowed to talk about it in those terms, that we don't realize how fucking addicted we are to sugar. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who do realize how addicted they are to sugar, or how addictive sugar is, but I'm just going to go and name some of the reasons why I think it's so addictive. Number 1 is that when you are eating sugar, all you want to do is eat more sugar. Maybe I should put that in an I statement. Every time I'm eating more sugar, all I want to do is eat more sugar. 2, that when you've been eating sugar, your body craves it. If you get in the habit of eating dessert, you want dessert. You finish your meal, and you need your little fix. Not only that, but even when you're walking down the street, you'll think to yourself, oh, I could have this. Oh, I could have that. Sugar is not just in sweet things. Sugar is sneaky. Teriyaki chicken is entirely based on sugar. Sushi, even in traditional ways of preparing it, is made by soaking the rice in rice syrup, by making it a fermented sweet. And now, a lot of sushi that you get in most places is soaked in corn syrup. Even at Whole Foods, it's soaked in corn syrup. Check yourself, Whole Foods. Think about granola, think about raisin. Sugar is surreptitiously lurking in so many of the things that we consume right now, even the ones that we think are entirely healthy. It makes me think of Terence McKenna when he was saying that all societies have their chemicals that they are, I don't want to say dependent on, but I'll say in relationship with. He talks about living in India in the 70s, and it was a hash partnership society. So that didn't mean that everyone was high on hash all the time, but it meant that it was always a possibility that someone might be high on hash, that you guys would go smoke hash together, or that you'd go to a place where people were high on hash. It was in the ether. It was in the cultural fabric. The United States is a meat, sugar, and alcohol society. So that doesn't mean we're all, eating meat, sugar, and alcohol all the time, but it's always a possibility that, hey, let's go get this, let's go get that. That's actually the entire basis of our socializing with each other, is built around meat, sugar, and alcohol. And he was saying that maybe it's even appropriate for us to start walking around saying, I'm so high on meat, sugar, and alcohol right now, because we are. I think Terence McKenna would also want me to remind everyone that sugar is one of the most corrosive substances to your pineal gland, which, as we were talking before, is the seat of visions and dreams. Our pineal gland was the size of a quarter, and now it's the size of a pea. And a large part of it has to do with this diet that not only we eat, but which we've exported all over the world. One of the things that I love about ethnobotany, speaking of Terence McKenna, is that it reveals this secret undergrid of history, that actually what's been the scaffolding of human history has been our fundamental relationship with plants. Michael Pollan really illustrated well in his book, The Botany of Desire, is that these plants have their own evolutionary thrust to propagate themselves, and that often we are the vehicles of them expanding their own existence and expressing their own essence. Taking ethnobotany seriously, it's almost as though looking at the way that we interact with the plant and that the plant interacts with us can give us an image of the fingerprints of the essence of the plant itself. So that, for example, with marijuana, looking at the ways that people who smoke marijuana or interact with it express their relationship and how marijuana expresses their relationship with them will give us a sketch of the essence of the plant itself. I sometimes feel like you can, look at Rastas or, people who've been potheads for many years, and they are almost this biological fractal, right? They are, in a certain sense, cookie-cutter images of themselves, following a similar pattern of energy and activity, and that this is a clue about the character of marijuana. And the same with sugar. So that if you look at sugar in the past, it's actually been one of the main historic forces of colonialization. And if you look at it in the more recent past, it's been one of the more pernicious elements of imperialism. So this means that in our colonial history, we've been to all of these tropical places in the world, Hawaii, the Caribbean, the South Pacific, Latin America, planting our sugarcane, taking over people's lands, importing slaves, and turning it into our own little sugar bowl of oppression and global dominance. And if you look at it in the imperial history, we've then produced not only sugar, but horrifying chemical derivatives, corn syrup, red dye number 40, and that we're now exporting those products and addictive behaviors worldwide. So that now here I am in Mexico and everybody's suckling on partially hydrogenated corn syrup the exact same way that I was suckling on those cocktails at the wedding. And that this is clogging up all of our pineal glands, supporting corporate capitalism, etc., etc. And even think about sugar today. Think about the way that sugar structures the landscape, not only of urban but also rural settings. Sometimes it's hard for me to be in San Francisco because every block there's 50 things that you could buy. There's 50 things that you could eat, and probably about 40 of them contain sugar. That our addiction to sugar is sculpting the very landscapes that we walk through, and therefore is shaping the type of relationships we have and the type of people we are. When I was originally thinking about this podcast, I thought, maybe our biochemical dependence and addiction on sugar is a reason why kombucha and fermented foods are making such a comeback. Because fermented foods generally, and kombucha in particularly, is a bacteria that thrives on sugar. And in the way that I think about it when I drink it, alchemizes that sugar into something that actually helps digestion. That maybe one of the reasons why kombucha is becoming so big right now is because we need some of that medicine to alchemize the sugar within our bodies and within our societies. And I was thinking maybe these bacterias, which are so interestingly called cultures, maybe are not benevolent. Maybe are simply trying to propagate themselves through colonizing our bodies, the same way that humans have colonized the body of the planet by taking over and dominating other cultures. I still love kombucha, but so when I think of the laboratory of my own body, about how it is that sugar makes me feel, the first thing that comes to me is lack, is never enough, is that feeling where you've had an amazing meal, but you want dessert, is the feeling where you're having a conversation with someone and really you're just thinking about whether or not you're going to allow yourself to have another cookie. You know, it's this feeling of dissatisfaction, of always wanting a little more and never being satisfied. At least that's how it is for me. And that it's these consumptive cycles where little by little it starts to take over my thinking, where pretty soon all I'm thinking of is the next time that I get to have sugar, where I'm walking down the street thinking, when's the next time I'm going to let myself have a treat? And even that thinking of treat and reward and deprivation is all super addictive behavior. The problem is that denying myself sugar makes me want it that much more intensely. Even right now, I'm fantasizing about swirl your own frozen yogurt. And I'm thinking that maybe when I get back to the United States, I'll have swirl your own frozen yogurt. I'm planning it. I'm planning that far in advance. And it makes me as excited as an alcoholic knowing that you're going to drink. What can I do? How can I escape this cycle? What, I need to hit sugar rock bottom? I think I've done that before. I think I've been in epicycles of hitting micro sugar rock bottoms where I say, I'm off of it. And I'll go, a week or a month or a day or whatever, and pretty soon I'm on it again. So I don't know, maybe this is a question for you guys, right? How can you not consume something without denying yourself that thing? Or how can you have a balanced relationship with something that's so imbalanced? Or how can I think about this stuff without falling into good and bad, Without demonizing sugar and making it some evil thing, or without thinking that I'm good or bad or for doing it. How can I be free of guilt in my consumptive habits? Because everybody knows that guilt is counterproductive, to say the least. Maybe the question here is, how can we be our own kombucha? How can we alchemize the sugar within ourselves? Every time we want sugar, we just go have some kale. And we want sugar, we just go have some kombucha. Or we go plant in our vegetable garden. Do something else sensual for our body. On coconut oil or kiss someone. That seems to counteract sugar desires. Or at least postpone them. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just going to pose this to you guys. Maybe one of you has a really good idea for how to balance all these factors. And in the meantime, I'm just going to keep thinking about it. It's definitely a big enough factor in my life. I don't know about you guys, but I eat every day. I eat every goddamn day. Bueno pues, muchísimo amor a todos ustedes. Mucho, mucho amor, como las olas del océano. Y gracias, mil veces y mil veces más, por quien eres, por lo que haces en el mundo, por el espíritu que tienes en tu corazón, por todo el tiempo, por todo el espacio, por toda la vida conectada que nosotros somos. Chao.